I'm tired. Not the kind that sleep fixes. The kind that settles in your chest and follows you into the morning. The kind where you wake up and your first thought is, I don't know if I have the strength to believe today. And that thought scares you, because you're not walking away. You're not rebelling. You're not angry at God. You're just worn. I've been carrying my faith quietly for a while now. Not because I'm ashamed of it, but because I don't have the energy to explain it anymore. I don't have the energy to pretend I'm thriving when I'm barely steady. I don't have the energy to say I'm blessed when what I really mean is I'm exhausted. And the guilt that comes with that is heavier than the tiredness itself. Because somewhere along the way, I learned that faithful people aren't supposed to get tired. They run the race with endurance. They fight the good fight. They press on toward the prize. And I want to be that person. I do. But some days I don't feel like I'm running. I feel like I'm dragging myself forward. And some days I'm not even dragging. I'm just lying there, still believing, but barely breathing. And I don't know how to say that out loud. Because how do you admit, I'm tired of holding it all together without someone assuming you've lost your faith? How do you explain that prayer feels heavy, that worship feels distant, that you're showing up but you feel empty inside? I kept thinking something was wrong with me. Maybe I wasn't praying enough. Maybe I wasn't reading enough. Maybe my faith was weak. Maybe I was failing. And then I remembered Elijah. Elijah, the prophet who called down fire from heaven. The man who stood alone against hundreds and didn't flinch. The man who saw miracles most of us only read about. And after all of that, he sat under a tree and asked God to let him die. Not because he stopped believing, but because he was exhausted. He said, I've had enough, Lord. And God didn't rebuke him. He didn't lecture him. He didn't question his loyalty. He let him sleep. He fed him, and then he let him sleep again. God didn't treat his exhaustion like a spiritual failure. He treated it like what it was, a human soul that had reached its limit. And that changes something. Because maybe being tired doesn't mean you're weak. Maybe it means you've been strong for too long. Maybe exhaustion isn't proof that your faith is breaking. Maybe it's proof that you've been carrying more than anyone realized. You can be faithful and still be exhausted at the same time. You can love God and still feel drained. You can believe deeply and still need to stop. That doesn't make you unstable. It makes you human. Maybe you're tired tonight. Maybe you've been tired for months. Maybe you're afraid that admitting it makes you less spiritual. But what if the most honest prayer you can pray right now is simply, God, I'm tired. Not polished, not powerful, just honest. Maybe the most faithful thing you can do isn't push harder. Maybe it's sit down. Maybe it's letting yourself collapse under your own tree without shame. Because God is not disappointed in your exhaustion. He's not keeping score. He's not measuring how long you lasted before you needed rest. He is the God who let Elijah sleep, the God who feeds the weary, the God who doesn't rush the broken. Sometimes the miracle isn't new strength. Sometimes the miracle is permission to rest. You're not weak. You're worn. You're not failing. You're human. And if you're still here, still breathing, still believing faintly, that is not nothing. That is faith under pressure. So rest. Not because you've given up, but because you've been carrying something heavy for a long time. And even the strongest believers need to sit down sometimes. And that doesn't disqualify you. It just means you're still here. And that is enough.